In the age of AI, where technology is rapidly transforming every aspect of our lives, the demand for pioneers who can navigate its complexities has never been higher. Meet Asha Saxena. A global leader in AI strategy, a distinguished professor at Columbia University, best-selling author of The AI Factor, a dynamic tech entrepreneur, and a captivating keynote speaker. As a revered speaker, entrepreneur, and educator, she brings a wealth of expertise and an unwavering commitment to innovation. Her insights inspire organizations and individuals alike to harness the power of data and emerging technologies to drive growth, efficiency, and competitive advantage. She is a visionary leader and a trailblazer in the integration of technology and business strategy. As a Columbia University professor, Asha is molding the next generation of entrepreneurs with AI skills. As the founder and CEO of Women Leaders in Data and AI, Asha is dedicated to creating a fair digital world with parity and equity. Through her book, The AI Factor, Asha offers a strategic roadmap for harnessing AI to drive business success. In an increasingly digital world, Asha Saxena stands as a beacon of knowledge and leadership, transforming the digital age with her vision, her voice, and her relentless drive to educate and inspire.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. First of all, what a great beginning of the conference yesterday. We got a chance to listen to a lot of really great speakers, from talking about technology to really thinking about you as a human. And I think that's the beauty. I grew up in this industry for now over 30 years, where I started my career as a programmer. And I remember all we spoke about was how perfect the code was, how good our databases were, how good our SQL program was. A lot of conversation about me or human wasn't there. And I think what AI has done is brought human in the center of all conversation. What really the beauty of AI is now is that we are really questioning these machines more than we ever did. And I'm really glad to be talking about this topic, because a lot of time I talk about just the strategy, but today I'm going to talk about, yes, there is an exponential growth, but also, are we moving beyond the wow factor? You know, this whole conversation about AI, and a lot of us who've been in technology for many decades understand that AI has been around for a while. We've been working on models. You know, this is nothing new. But I think when ChatGPT came out in 2023, or the end of 2022, in 2023, this was the age of GenAI, because that was the very first time common people could work with machines and understand the magic of the machine. When the model, the GenAI, could actually talk to you like human and solve problems. When our kids could go to school, our elderly community could actually talk to ChatGPT and be able to converse. And that's where the magic was. That's where the whole world started thinking about how a machine can generate language. So yes, we worked with the models before, and we worked with zeros and ones, but now we were talking with language. The whole natural language processing took AI to the next level. Now suddenly we would go into social setting, and engineers will become more conversational, because I remember going to parties, and if you're an engineer, you know, people will talk to you, but that was a limited conversation. But now when you say you're an engineer, and they immediately ask you, do you work with AI? And tell me more. And now suddenly you are an interesting person. And so AI has absolutely brought us into the limelight, brought engineers, technical experts and professionals into the limelight, and our trajectory has been once again on the upward direction. And the reason is because, yes, our roles have changed. Suddenly all the data analytics groups have become AI groups, and you suddenly will see a lot more titles and organization moving their resources into MLOps and, you know, getting your environment ready for AI. So there is a promise, and there is a wow factor. But today, I'm going to talk to you about how. How we're going to go from the wow of AI to how we're going to deploy this important technology that has the potential of implementing exponential growth. You know, we say, listen, I lined up doing the whole research because I was so fascinated when the pandemic hit that we all were on digital. And my very first thought was that we are moving so fast on this digital world. And there is so much more data that we have available. And our models will have so much access to big data like never before. And so the power of this data, the power of this technology, what it can do for you. And that was the whole story about building women leaders to world leaders in data and AI community, because I truly believe it's about the community, the power of community. And this is the first time as engineers, as technical resources, we have the power to do it right. To the question of how we implement the solutions and how are we going to make this world a better place by making sure we do the right thing. You know, we get so engaged in the beauty of creating. As engineers, we are creating these technologies, and we get so involved in creating the technology, we sometimes forget the why. And so the story I'm going to tell you today is going to be about how we deploy these intelligent systems, to why we deploy these intelligent systems, and then who do we build these systems for. But the biggest problem is, I mean, we cannot deny, yes, there is a promise. You know, I love Nikki's presentation yesterday, where he spoke about what is possible. It's crazy what is possible with technology that's available now, you know, from the voice and the images, you know, to the videos. And of course, there's a promise of cutting cost and creating efficiencies. But the truth is, and especially the engineers in the room know, that it's not all glorified, you know, beautiful promises. It's really about the challenges we face as we are building this technology. Data chaos and silos, we lived with the data chaos and silos forever. We start building our model, we're building who has the model? John has it on his computer. Where's the data sitting? You know, it's sitting in finance. Do I have access to the data? We don't have access to the data. So the data silos, the chaos, the MLOps friction, knowing that what does my pipeline look like? Ethical dilemma. Do we actually even think about ethics when we're building our design or building our application, or it becomes an afterthought? And the biggest thing which I'm glad that this conference is really talking about is the developer burnout. Nobody even thinks about that. And that's why I started by saying, nobody's thinking about you. It's like, let's get the application out. If you have to work 24/7, do it, right? So we used to be proud. I mean, I come from US, and you're right. We're proud that we can work 24/7. We're proud that, look how long hours we are working. There is no work-life balance. Nature, we live in a concrete jungle, you know? So who has the time to drive out to go to the nature? So yes, the burnout is real, and we don't even talk about it. So the conflict, there is a real conflict, and we have to acknowledge that before when we talk about the solution. The real conflict is the speed. You know, we want to get it done, the velocity, the iteration, the scale. Of course, we have to think about the scale. Automation, everything has to be automated. But we somehow forget about the soul. And again, I am really glad that AI brought the human in the center, because as we think about robotics, we are fearful of the power of AI. We are fearful of, are we going to be replaced? So yes, the intent, the ethic, the well-being, the trust is critical. It's critical. And so really, where is the merger between the code, what we are coding, and what the conscious is? So when we were talking about this topic of intelligent deployment, I think that is so critical, because when we deploy our code, when we're thinking about deploying these applications, what does it really mean is intelligent deployment? What does it really mean? Does it mean that my code is intelligent? Or does it truly mean that we're building and rewriting the code that is intelligent enough to give us no load on our code, no load on our human? It is really causing It's helping us focus on the value when we build this code, you know? Listen, we have some I work with some really smart engineers. I work with people who are very proud of what we are building. And what happens is when you are such a great engineer and you understand the math so well, you forget about connecting it to why. So yes, training is the easy part. Having the hard skills, you can go to the school, you can be the smartest person, the smartest engineer in your class, you can build the code as you come to the work. But are you really understanding when you're going into the production line, that's when the starting line starts. And the challenge comes in the life cycle. All right, your code is out in production, you're now in the life cycle of this code, the iteration, the drift, the code drift, the models drift, the productivity changes, the real data keeps changing. So it's the life cycle. What happens day 1 to day 10 to day 100 to day 1,000? Is your code still learning and refining and being strong? And there are the three pillars of the system: technology, business, and human. You know, of course, we always, as I said, we forget about the human aspect. But when I was growing up, we had two pillars we focused on: technology and business. Technology is very proud of what they're building. Business focuses on the results. And there are two siloed units in every organization. And they both speak different language. And you're in a room where business is focusing on numbers and ROI and metrics. And the tech people are saying, look at the feature. Look at the code. Look at the design. So they both are speaking different languages. How do you marry that two? So when we talk about technology, it is the how we build it. Business is the why we are building it. So the connection between business and technology is really, really critical. And when I was growing up in this field, I was so confused about these two different languages. I grew up in technology. I moved into business. I started understanding what the business was concerned about. And then I became business, and I realized, oh my God, I don't get technology anymore. Because as an engineer, you live in your lab. You so enjoy what you're building that you forget the why. And the business is so strong on the numbers that we have to hit our numbers that technology is an enabler. Thinking about technology and business and building that gap becomes really, really critical. And what technology has done, what AI has done, reduce that gap. Think about it. AI can code for you. AI can tell you what the metrics should be. If we don't get ready and upgrade ourselves, if you're a business leader, upgrade yourself as a technology leader. If you're the technology leader, really understand the business and understand why. And most importantly, this is the third element which I think I was not taught as I was growing up in this field. I've built companies. I'm a professor at Columbia University. What we don't teach in schools and we don't teach in business is the human aspect of this business, which is really understanding the ethics, the well-being, the trust. If we don't have the right people building this technology, we're going to have flawed system. And I have a great story. In Wilda, World Leaders in Data and AI, one of the leaders was telling me that large pharmaceutical company, and one of the female analysts came to the manager and said, we don't have the right data set. So think about it. As a technologist, she understood that the data set is important. What data you're focusing on. So she had enough data to do this drug discovery. The whole drug discovery was based on this data set, which didn't have enough female data set. So she went out, she got the permission, went out, got the female data set, the results were different. So thinking about ethics, well-being of what you're doing, from the very beginning becomes really, really critical. So thinking about these three elements in my whole talk, but our whole life cycle of how we build our products to how we productionize our products is so important to keep the human in the loop. Human in the loop of understanding the ethics, understanding how we're building these products becomes really, really critical. And I started my presentation about exponential, right? So the whole exponential impact of AI is critical on our model of what we are building. When we're talking about technical mastery, what does that really mean? It means that, I had this great conversation outside with Andreas and his team, and he spoke about this platform they do. And that's the beauty of coming to conferences like this, because you're talking to these vendors who are these entrepreneurs who are building this technology in this new day and age. And he spoke about this platform they've built that connects the infrastructure, right? All your applications, tells you the runtime, gives you the lineage. So having a robust MLOps becomes really critical. Understanding your automation, your continuous integration, deployment, and modeling. That's critical. Scalable, you want to have a scalable cloud-native architecture. Having an intelligent design, having intelligent architecture becomes really critical. Data governance, quality, security, lineage. Where is the data coming from? Why that becomes important? It is important because you want to have traceability. Can I trust this data? Do I understand where the data is coming from? And the performance through latency to accuracy. So our technical mastery is important, but we also have to remember why we are building it. Do we really understand? So a lot of, at least in US, we talk about this McKinsey study and the MIT study. They speak about 95% of the AI projects are not providing the value. Why are these projects not providing the value? Because we're not thinking about the measure from the very beginning. So when we think about business acumen, we need to understand what is a clear ROI? Why am I building this application? Is it aligned? What we are building, is it aligned to our strategic goals? Is it user-centric? Are we thinking about the user in the mind when we're thinking and building? There's a great video I play in my class. It talks about this engineer, the scientist who's built the product because he is so passionate about this model he built. And the business user keeps asking him, he's like, tell me how is it good for me? He says, look at the model, how great it is. I've spent so much time on it. But if you can't explain clearly what the user can get out of it, is it easy for the user to build? Another great book, One Click for Amazon. I don't know how many of you have read that book, but it talks about Amazon business trajectory changed when they made one click. You can buy with one click. If you simplify your applications to a point that it's easy to use and you can trust, you get the user adoption. And of course, market adaptability. And then comes the human element. As I said, we used to build technology solutions many, many times. We never really had that as an element since AI came into existence. We think about ethics. Why? Because these models can exponentially enhance everything that we are showing. At UN Women Conference, they showed the data that in Google search, if you say executives, professional executives, 90% men show up. Whereas if you say housekeepers, 90% women show up. And it's a Google search database, right? So think about exponentially enhancing the bias. They say about 30% of professional executives are women in the world. But the AI models enhances any bias. So what it is going to do is that the models are going to not incorporate the truth if you don't really think about how the data has been shown or captured. And the birth of these books really was during the pandemic. In 2020, I started writing the book because I saw the divide between business and technology. And what was on my mind was this: what would be the AI factor when all this data, all these models are going to get powerful? And I wrote the book before ChatGPT came out. And my book was released February 2023. And the impact, of course, it became immediately the bestseller. But my goal was, I always say, the book was not just for AI hype. The book was really about my 30 years of experience being a technologist trying to connect to business, being a business leader trying to connect to technology, thinking about people, data, and technology. And so what I've done in the book is to put this framework together to be able to use this framework, if you're a technologist or you're a business leader, to use this 4-step process to be able to have that communication, AI-ready solution that will help you execute and deploy intelligently. So I'm going to walk you through. It's an operating model. It's a management operating model. It's been taught at universities now in a few different countries. And the goal is that you use this management operating model to connect the gap between the 3 pillars I spoke about: the technology, business, and people. And the base people starts with the strategic alignment. I cannot stress enough why this is important. A lot of engineers can sit in the silo, build something, and not have the connection to the business. And sometimes, that's right, the data engineering group might not even know what the strategic alignment means to them. So really, how do you connect that gap? So as a CIO advisor, CEO advisor, what I do is, in public companies, the big question is all the department, all cross-functional department aligned or not? So if you're a small business or a large business, if you're a publicly traded company or a privately traded company, the biggest missing link is when the cross-functional teams don't understand what you're building. So bringing the teams together becomes really, really important. And why? That is important because AI Strategic Steering Committee brings the different roles from different cross-functional teams, the leaders together, to create what kind of resources should be allocated, what kind of budget. And what does it do? The goal for the steering committee is to align AI to business goal, really critical. Understand what the high priority use cases are. And do you have the C-suite sponsorship? If you don't have the sponsorship, you will not see the outcome because it'll get stalled. Big priorities will fall in front, and your priorities might fall in the behind. Governance is really important. Having the AI council, which are cross-functional, understanding what responsible AI principles are, and are you tracking ROI? Are you tracking the risk transparency? One of the clients I work with, they had this big project of taking the large language model and deploying. They got this licenses from Microsoft and deployed it to 80,000 employees and found out only 20% people use those licenses. And now these licenses were issued. There was no adoption. So really thinking about how you're going to deploy at scale. So that comes to execution. POC, this is a huge problem. You have POCs, a lot of projects in the POCs, but they're not scaling. So really thinking about, so I would say if nothing else you took out from here, understanding the value of steering committees. If you work for a large publicly traded company or a private company, having a steering committee, even if it's small, starting with making sure that the cross-functional teams are working together to understand and prioritizing. In the book, I talk about the 4-step process. It's about starting with assessing your business problem, making sure data readiness, what does data readiness really means? Can you prioritize? And then can you measure? Really thinking about those 4 steps as you deploy your AI projects. So in phase 1, we talk about the power quadrant. AI can be used for either optimizing, cutting costs, creating efficiency. You can, some of the examples you saw yesterday was just your email automation, your workflow automation. Or you can be an innovator, launch new products. You can be extender. Which market? Do I want to extend my market? Or I can be a multiplier. Some of the examples are great examples. Optimizer, HubSpot uses it, upscale their product. They automated the whole conversation, customer relationship. This is a very common use case. Kiehl's, the makeup company, can tell you on the chatbot what kind of skin you have. You can actually have a conversation and get the product information. Nutella actually launched in Italy a campaign. 7 million jars were sold out because they understood what the market wanted. So the design was completely different in Italy compared to North America because they understood their consumer preferences. So think about having that much information about your consumer as you're developing your solutions. And extended, Coca-Cola had the whole campaign where they actually included the users into their design. So it becomes your design, and you're sharing the design. So think about creativity of using your users as you're thinking about launching your campaigns. There's another really fun one. I don't know if you've seen that. Virgin Travels has J-Lo on the campaign, where it's deepfake, and it comes up where it actually shows how it's really a tech geek in the back office speaking, where the deepfake is J-Lo. So I don't know if you've seen that. Really fun ad, and immediately increase their footprints. So think about how to use AI effectively. Be creative as you're thinking about using this developing this technology for your users. And I love Multiply, the Netflix example. Netflix actually watched what the consumer wanted and launched original content and became the big hit. Why did they become a big hit? Because they understood what the consumer wanted, and they used the algorithm to create that impact. They actually could launch new products and continuously evolve their organization. They started with a red envelope, mailed the DVD, to creating original content. So think about the power of algorithms. If you use in your business to be able to understand where your business needs are. So as an engineer, yes, my job is to develop. Maybe as a data engineer, I'm focusing only on cleaning the data. But as an engineer, I also have to understand what my business needs are, so really understanding the business assessment. And that's where we start from. When I'm working with a client, I'm always starting with understanding what is the business needs are before they think about building anything. So focusing on understanding the business need, and that becomes a data readiness. It's not just about, yes, garbage in amplifies garbage out. Yes, it's about data cleaning and understanding what your data sources are. It's about getting your organization ready for data quality. Instead of just detection, becoming proactive. Understand what your lineage looks like. In the book, I talk about readiness is about organization maturity and internal competence. Is your organization ready? When you think about data is the core, the fundamental of when you're building models. Data readiness has 4 elements. Having clear objective, what you're going to use the data for. Then comes data governance, very, very critical. The security, accessibility, where is my data stored? Who owns the data? Is the data standardized? And, of course, the security. Then comes engagement. Can you engage your organization? And then comes transformation, scaling, repeatability. What are you building can be repeatable? It's about understanding the ethics. I spend a lot of time in organization, of course, bringing the business along from the very beginning, making sure the business and technology is aligned, understanding where the data structure, the foundation is, and making sure the foundation is ready, and spending time on prioritizing. The third element is about, listen, we live in a world where AI has given us so many use cases, right? All the business units are coming to you with laundry list of requests. Where are you spending time? Most organization, people are spending time in engineering organization, we're spending time on modeling. We should be spending time on infrastructure, standardizing. Making sure that we can repeat what we're creating can scale. It's about creating robust MLOps. Really thinking about where you keeping the features are stored. Continuous integration, deployment, training, model. And then comes monitoring. We have to monitor a lot more closely than ever before, because we have model drifts. We want to make sure that the performance is happening where we are spending less time on just modeling. We don't have to worry about 0.1 accuracy. I work with engineers. They get so excited about this tiny improvement they make in the accuracy because that's the success. Thinking about really prioritizing, where is my power zone? Am I solving the right problem? A lot of times people say to me, should we send our kids to college for computer science now or not? Because we have AI to write the code. I always say, no, it's about, we have to send our kids to college for engineering because that tells you which problem to solve, how to solve the problem. So really, the next generation of leaders are going to be the leaders who understand what problem are you solving? Are you solving the right problem? And are you tracking the value as you solve the problem? And do you have the data to make sure that you're solving the right problem? It's building the flywheel. When you build the flywheel, because it is about continuous improvement. You can do continuous deployment, data changes, the problem changes. Are you building the AI model that can continuously evolve and build a flywheel effect? So when you talk about flywheel, it's about monitoring. Why are we building the flywheel? Because we want to monitor. We want to look at the drift detection. We want to look at the performance decays if they are happening. We want to catch it early before it gets delayed. It's about getting the feedback and retraining the model to make sure that we get the performance. So what does AI factor really means? It means that you're getting the technical resilience and human empowerment. It's about keeping that human in the loop when we are focusing on technology and business. It is important to always remember about the value. Yes, we are proud of the models we are building. Yes, we are proud of being our data engineers, the ML engineers, the AI team, now you probably heard about what AI in Silicon Valley, the salaries are skyrocketing for AI engineers. Yes, so this is great to be in the tech world, but if you cannot think about the value, the business value, you're not going to get the output. So let's think about, we're going to bring it back home, and the lights are suddenly up. I'm not really sure why, but I think it's the time to say it's all about you guys. AI for developers, because this is really about you, of how you're going to take that AI and bring it home. How are you going to use this technology for your own use case? How do you use Code Assist? I work with a very large Fortune 500 company, and the CIO comes to me and says, my biggest challenge is my tech team. They don't want to use AI because they feel that they, might get replaced. The question is, can you actually use Code Assist? Logic is you. You're using Code Assist to really look at the syntax. Do you want to get stuck in a dot and a comma? I still remember writing the code, and I have a syntax error, and I'm stuck for hours, and I can't find out where my error is. Think about using Code Assist. Thank God we have Code Assist to not worry about these silly syntax errors. We need to focus on the logic. Oh my God, the automated QA. How many of you spend nights on unit testing? No more manual unit testing. So really think about automating your use cases, test cases, and really focusing on just, bug detection. Really having this technology available to really solve that problem. And proactive ops. Think about being proactive, not getting called at 3 a.m. at the night because your server crashed. Now you have proactive ops using AI, so you get alerts before the system crashes. And then intelligent governance. The governance is so critical to understand, standardize. You standardize, automate, and make sure security, engineering, tracking gets easier. The bottom line is really about you're removing this whole drudgery, amplifying creativity, and refocusing human talent. Think about the manual work that can be eliminated from our technical world, and I love the fact that we have a mixed audience of developers, architects, entrepreneurs, that we really need to think about using this AI for our good. We are building this technology for the business, but how are we using this technology to make sure that we empower? I think somebody said that a lot of developers look down upon vibe coding, but think about using vibe coding as a tool to quickly prototype. Use code assist to help you become more accelerated in the jobs you have to do, which is using your logic. You still have to tell the logic you need to be a good developer to use code assist effectively. So what I would say is that key takeaway before I close would be, really think about AI is your strategic value. It's not just about, using AI for feature detection. It's really about focusing for strategic value. Build a robust MLOps and data resilience structure. Ethics is critical. I started a whole organization, because I was worried about the ethical implication. For the first time, as engineers, we get to contribute to the society. The whole mid-age crisis is like, what is my purpose? And somebody says to me, what's your purpose? What excites you? I think somebody asked me yesterday. And I said, what excites me is that as engineer, as a technical profession, I am creating a world which could be better. So how important it is that we all take the ownership of doing the right thing. Being better programmers, being better developers, being better AI leaders to build an ethical world as we build our systems. And then keep humans in the loop. Make sure that we, being the intelligent being, continue staying in the loop as we build our system. With that, I want to thank you very much. Continue learning. This is the age of being a lifelong learner, and enjoy your day. Thank you.